Okay, we can start now.
Okay, thank you very much for joining. Good evening, everyone. It's been a while that I've been here. My sincere apologies. And I want to thank Captain Afolabi for the opportunity once again to be here. So we are always here whenever you need us. So today we'll be discussing about ISM codes. So ISM code is international safety management code. My apologies as I'm talking, you'll be hearing some background noise. This is because I'm not the only one here. I'm in the bridge. So if I happen to go to my room, the network will be very poor, you know, for me to join. So shh, meeting. So ISM code, we go ahead. It starts for our international safety management code. As you are all aware, international safety management code is a code for the safe operation of ships and for pollution prevention. So this code was adopted by the IMO resolution 8.74/18. So after these lessons, whoever needs this resolution, I can send it to Captain Afolabi or we can share it also. I don't know how heavy it is for us to share it on the WhatsApp group. So we are going to see how this resolution was adopted. So the ISM code is intended to improve the safety of international shipping and also to reduce pollution from ships by also impacting the way shipping companies are being operated and managed. So prior to ISM codes, there was no documentary procedure apart from SOLAS regulations that was adopted as a result of the Titanic incident. So there was no documentary procedure regarding regarding uh, regarding the management of ships, particularly that have to do with shore and ships. So the way the ship runs is not being monitored by the ship. So there is an incident that happened, and this incident is called the incident of the Herald of Free Enterprise. So as I go on, if you have any question, you can ask me. I don't know, do anyone among us knows about the incidents of the Herald of Free Enterprise, apart from Captain Afolabi? Anyone in the
No, sir, no, I don't know.
okay? Okay, so there's a vessel, it's a roll-on, roll-off vessel called the MS Herald of Enterprise. So this particular vessel capsized some moments after leaving the port of Zeebrugge in Belgium on precisely about 6 March 1987 and killing about 193 passengers. So what happened was this particular roll-on roll-off vessel, whenever they are departing from port, they will go around to check whether the doors are closed. So, and then there's an indication in the bridge that is going to show the door was closed. And they didn't know that the indication was faulty. The door was left open and the indication was actually shown that the door was shut, whereas the door was not shut. So as soon as the vessel sailed, they begin to the bow door that was left open was not being closed. you know the water begins to come in. The water begins to come in from the vessel that caused the vessel to capsize. And then once the vessel capsized, it killed about 193 people. That was in 1983. And then there was an investigation into the incident, and the preliminary investigation into the incident shows that there was no documentary procedure, no documentary procedure to show that the door is shut or closed. And they also realized that there's no communication between ship and shore. There are a lot of findings. So I'm going to send also the findings of the Herald of Free Enterprise, to the WhatsApp group. And the Herald of Free Enterprise is what gave birth to the ISM code we have today. Is what gave birth to ISM code that we have today. If you notice in the maritime sector, whenever there's a major accident or a major catastrophe, it also results in change in regulation, change in policy that will improve the way ships operate and ships are being managed. So, i.e., if you look at the issue of the Titanic, it gave birth to SOLAS. If you look at the Exxon Valdez, it brought about the Oil Pollution Act OPA 90. So for every major incident that happened, that has a major impact, what happened, it results to a new regulation that is going to set out regulation on how to prevent certain incidents from happening. So if you are able to learn from the incidents that happen, you are going to prevent the future incident. If you look at the ISPS code, it's also in response to the September 11 incidents, that happened in the States. So brief history of ISM code, as I've mentioned earlier, there are a number of serious accidents which have occurred during the late 1980s, and also the early 1990s. And then if you look at the graph of the trend in major accident at sea, majority of them were caused by human error. Human errors have to do with lack of experience, not following the proper procedure, cutting corners, also you look at, there's no documented procedure. People have not been able to learn well on the system. So there are a lot of things that have to do with human error. Also lack of rest, the mental well-being of those particular people, is a serious issue. So human errors have always been a contributory factor. But apart from human error, there are other, contributory factors that are called incident. Example, lack of maintenance, machinery failures, poor design in equipment, so all those ones, are contributory factors that causes a number of serious incidents in the late 1980s. Some of these incidents, like I said, include the Herald of the Free Enterprise, it includes the Exxon Valdez, Erica. There are so many incidents that happened in the late 1990s. So responding to this incident is in particularly the issue of the Herald of Enterprise. So the IMO came up in 1993 and adopted a resolution. So the resolution was adopted by the Maritime Safety Committee concerning how ships are going to be operated safely. So they gave birth to this ISM code, which the ISM code became mandatory in 1998. It was enforced and it became mandatory in 1998. And then briefly, we are going to look at the purpose of ISM code. Why was ISM code adopted? So as when we look at it, was adopted due to the response of the incidents that have happened that have resulted in major fatalities issues that have resulted in loss of life, loss of assets, damage to the environment. So thereafter, the purpose of ISM code is to ensure safety of life at sea. Safety of life is you prevent life, you prevent injury, you ensure that ships are sailed safely, without fatality, without injury. So you also ensure that you prevent damage to the environment, especially the marine environment. So when you have spillage, it affects the marine environment. So it's very, 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 very important, that it prevents this. So we are going to look at the functional requirements of ISM code. Okay, so what are the functional requirements of ISM code? There are several functional requirements of ISM code. Apart from the three main objectives of ISM code, ensuring safety of life at sea, preventing injury, and avoidance of damage to the marine environment, there are functional requirements. And these functional requirements, we are going to discuss them one by one and see how they are being implemented on board the ship. So the first one is to establish an environmental protection policies. I believe all of us are on board the ship. So if you go to every ship nowadays or every company, both ashore and on board, you'll see what we call the environmental protection policy. There's a statement on how to protect the environment, how environments are being protected. The protection policy is there that is being signed by the managing director of the company. So if you look at your information book, if you go to the vessel, you see them, some of them are laminated. Okay, so at this point, does any one of you don't have something like this on board your vessel? Hello?
Actually, we all have.
Okay, okay. Okay, so that is, if you now look at the reason why you have these environmental protection policies is as a result of the response to ISM code requirement. As you're aware, ISM code is a mandatory requirement and is also incorporated in SOLAS. Okay. So secondly, one of the functional requirements of ISM code is to define the responsibilities and authorities both ashore and on board. So if you go to your SMS, safety management system today, the one on board the ship, you look at their functional requirement, you see master officer, second officer, third engineers, and so on. So this is where you have this responsibility. ISM code require you to go ashore under the safety management system. Also, you look at the shore management part of it. You also look at the designated person ashore, fleet managers, everything is documented. So that is the requirement of ISM code. So the third functional requirement of ISM code is to appoint a designated person ashore. So I believe there is no shipping company in this world, a well-established shipping company that doesn't have a DPA. Sometimes the DPA alternate as CSO. CSO also is company security officer, which is a requirement under the ISPS code. So designated person ashore, the ISM code specifically stated that he must have the access to the data. He doesn't report to fleet manager, he reports to the designated access because he should be able to make recommendation, he should be able to set the high level of management what is required of safety. For instance, if you require something to be implemented, access to the highest level of management, they ask what is DPA, what are the responsibility of DPA. Responsibility of DPA, very important, is to ensure compliance with safety management. That is a key responsibility. He has a direct access, to the high level of management. He also ensure, compliance with safety management in order to prevent, pollution, to prevent accident, prevent loss of life at sea. So if you go under the ISM code, there is a section that detail all the functional requirement of DPA. I strongly recommend that you have a detailed look of that statement because it's a common question that is normally asked during oral examination. So I would strongly recommend you to look at that particular part. So the other part that is key of ISM code. Hello, can you all hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, sir. We can hear you, sir. Though it was breaking,
Hold on
but we
there,
can hear you.
but okay. Okay, okay, okay. Because my network is unstable here. The ISM code require every company to define the master's responsibility. And it's a common question if you are going to orals. They always ask you, what is the master's responsibility under the ISM code? And the first answer you have to give that the master responsibility under the ISM code is motivation of crew, in the observation of environmental and safety protection policy. That is a key responsibility of ISM code, the ISM code. Very, very important is, the master has to motivate the crew, the master has to policy, how implement that by ensuring that all the safety procedures on board the ship are being followed, all the environmental protection policy on board the ship are being followed, and also ensure that the requirements of ISM are being complied, i.e., if the master comes required to fill pre-departure checklists before the vessel sail, and that is why one of the requirements is also that why they ensure that drills are being carried out. Whenever you have 25% change in crew, as soon as the vessel leaves the port,
Okay, so let me just jump in there as we wait for Captain Caleb to join us as well. And he was discussing on the ISM code. And the reason why we are discussing on the ISM code is because it's really quite important for our orals too, as well. Just a quick question, Captain Caleb, are you ready? Okay. We'll just wait for Captain Caleb to.
I'm online, Captain Busari.
Oh, okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah,
I'm online already. I'm online. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you give me the control so that I can share my screen again? Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, I can share my screen. Okay. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes, sir, we can see your screen, sir. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so my apologies, the network is quite poor. So the next requirement is to ensure. Hello, can you all hear me? Hello.
Yes, we can hear
Hello,
you, sir.
Captain
We can
Busari,
hear
can
you.
you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, all right. So the next requirement is to ensure that the company provide adequate resources and personnel. What does it mean here? That the company must ensure that when the master is being employed, that the master is properly qualified. You don't go and employ a master who is not qualified to come and run a ship. Qualification is such a means that what it means that you must have the appropriate certification. Your medical certificate must be up to date. You must have all code. So the other functional requirement of ISM code is to develop plans for shipboard operations. What are the plans for shipboard operations? We have different shipboard operations. For instance, now we have procedure for loading of cargo. Let's say you're on board a crude oil tanker, the procedure for loading of crude oil. So it's a requirement, for the company to develop shipboard operations procedure. So if you go to different vessels, you find different procedures. You have procedure, they are divided into sections. There are procedure for daily operation of the ships, such as daily activities, which include ballast operations, navigation, it has to do with inspection of tanks. All these procedures are functional requirement of ISM code. Then you also have procedures for emergency situations, which is covered in number 7 functional requirement. You also, the company must also have a procedure of dealing with emergency man overboard. There's procedure for fire. There's procedure also for dealing with, let's say, procedure of what to do when the ship is aground. There's procedure of what to do when you lost steering. So all the emergency procedures are covered under number 7. And also, if you look at the checklist, pre-departure from in number 6, there's a checklist that you need to they are all covered in number 7. So whatever must be a documentary procedure that back it results in an incident or in an accident. If you look at the accident that has happened in the past, there is lack of procedure in place. So what happened? There's a question now. What happened now is if you have maybe a new, you have recently changed your AIS or your radar on board, and it's not the same with the previous radar, what will you do?
Hello guys, that's a question. What are we gonna do? I think it's broke out now. So if there is a change in your reader, anybody, what are we gonna do? What procedure are we gonna follow?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have to join with my phone because the laptop is taking time to connect. So the we'll go to the next one now is about ensure that ship and equipment are properly maintained. So number 8 has to do report of all accident and hazards. My apologies because I can't share the slides here because I'm using mobile phone now until maybe when the network improves. So what does that mean about reporting all accidents? If you check on board the ship today, one of the requirements for you to have a safety officer to be appointed. So you must have a safety officer. And what are the duties of safety officer is to investigate all accidents on board and to make recommendation, okay, to the master. So there must be a procedure. There must be a procedure on board as per ISM Code, that will ensure that, all accidents on board are being investigated. There's a documentary procedure, all accidents are being investigated on board, and then recommendations are being made, when it comes to those particular accidents. There must also be a procedure for reporting any hazardous situation. So if you go now, that's why you have the safety officer. Whenever an incident occurs, you report it. Whenever there is incident report, you record it. That will lead me to a question. There's a question that was asked, during my oral. So you have a ship that reports 200 non-conformance in a month, and you have the ship that reports 0. Which of the ships is safer?
The one that reported non-conformity is safer.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So that's the answer, that I equally gave the examiner during my orals. So it's very, very important for you to know this. Okay, so if you look at number 9, which is one of the functional requirements, is to ensure that ship and the equipment are properly maintained. So that has to do with the plant maintenance system of the vessel. I believe all of us have what we call plant maintenance system on board our vessel. So there's a requirement that every week you check the lifeboats. Every week, you check, the lifeboat, you check the life raft, and the rest. So it's very, very important, for you to have all those documented procedure. You check inspecting live wraps, you ensuring that plant maintenance are being carried out is part of the functional requirement of that is covered of ISM codes. So it's very, very important for you to know this. If they ask you in the oral examiner, what are the functional requirements? Plant maintenance on board the vessel is a functional requirement of ISM code. And if you check in the past, a lot of accidents were happening because there was no documented procedure, equipment are not being maintained. So that's one of the reasons why these requirements are in place to ensure that all shipboard equipment are maintained, ballast tanks are being inspected, cargo pumps are being inspected. That's a requirement. So number 9 shows that follows strict documentary control procedures. So there's what we call, if you go to our ship today, there's what we call control documents. There are documents that you must have mandatory. There are publications that you must have. This has to do with that. This publication includes ISM code publication, which we are discussing today, MLC, SOLAS, all the necessary books, publication, you need to carry them, and all the control documents. So it's very, very important. When you go on board a vessel and see a vessel that is carrying certain publications, you might wonder why. The reason why is because of ISM code. So the next one is about conducting of internal audit and management review. One of the functional requirements of the ISM code is to ensure that internal audits are conducted at regular intervals. We are going to discuss about audit in the next slide. But how do you conduct audits? You ensure that if you are in your companies today, the DPM might send a mail that you have a surveyor coming for internal audit. Why do we conduct audit? We conduct audit to ensure that the procedures are being complied. All the requirements are being followed. So it's very, very important. If you don't conduct audit, you will be doing the wrong thing and you might not know. So audit helps you to be able to identify non-conformity, to be able to address it. So nowadays there are several, auditing that are taking place. You have ISM audit, you have MLC audit, you have different audits. So it's very, very important for you to know that the audits that take place on board are all functional requirements of ISM code. That's why we have audit. Even the site inspections, they are all functional requirements of ISM code. So before I move to the next slide, do you have any question? I'm going to send the slide to the group since my laptop is somehow misbehaving.
Sir, you asked a question regarding the radar before your network cut off the other time. Maybe you want to.
Okay, yes. Okay. GRC radar, and possibly the functions in GRC radar are different. And your company has recently procured a Furuno. So, and they are different. So, and then you are saying, what are you going to do in this situation? You have different, now you are going to have a different procedure for Furuno, and you are going to have 2 different procedures. So what are you going to do? ISM code allow you to do something, and it's a crucial question examiners ask when you are trying to alter your procedure on board. What are you going to do? Hello?
Yes, we are with you, sir. We are with you.
Okay, what you need to do is call MOC, Management of Change.
December also sent the message, say management of change as well.
Okay, all right. So management of change is very important. So you feel in different companies, you have different forms that you feel, you send it ashore, you conduct a risk assessment so that both ship and shore are in alignment, and to ensure that any possible risk and hazard is being addressed. Even when another officer is joining the ship, he knows that the procedures are different. So it's very, very crucial, for you to know that. It's very, very important, for you to know MOC, management of change. So I'll move to the next slide. My apologies because I'm using the phone now. So I'm going to share this slide. Is the benefit of ISM codes. You know,
Sir, sorry, sir. That MOC, is it a form?
Management of change.
Yeah, is it a form or what?
If there's a form that you fill, management of change is when you are trying to change a procedure on board and you have to assess all the possible risks, eliminate all the possible hazards. Some companies require you to complete a form. You know, the form will have a description. For instance, when I was working for NLNG, it's called Form 500. So you fill that form and you send it to the office to DPA, they review, ensure that they are in alignment, because you can't just change procedure like that. Ensure that you are in alignment. You have to state what you are changing, which equipment you are changing, what are the risks, what are the hazards, how you are addressing those risks, how you are addressing those hazards. So it's very, very important, you know, for you to feel that. Yes. So I think I'll try and get a sample of MOC and also share it once the network improves in the forum. Okay. Is there any question before I move forward? Okay. So now we look at the benefit of ISM codes. What are the benefits of ISM code? Like I asked a question, you have a ship that report 200 NCs and one that reports 0, and you equally say that the one that report 200 is the safest ship, which is good, well acceptable. So what are the benefits of ISM codes? One, if you look at ISM code has resulted in reduced chances of human error. Why do I say so? If you have a documented procedure on board, you'll know what to do, before departure from port. The chances of you, not testing a particular equipment or not finding out that a particular equipment is not functioning properly is less. So it has reduced the chances of human error, due to documented procedure, provision of adequate resources. When something has changed, you complete the MOC form, ensure that you are in all alignment, So that is it. So secondly, again, we look at improved communication and feedback. So why do I say so? Okay, when there's an incident, the DPA will constantly be sending you incidents that has happened. How can we prevent them? Which safety committee meeting has come up to play a crucial role to give feedback to incidents. There's also a communication channel today where if you are not happy, there's a non-compliance on board your ship, you can easily carry your phone and call, the DPA directly. So it has improved communication and feedback, which was not there in the past. So you also have to look at safe cargo handling, which is very important. So ISM has resulted in safe cargo operation. For instance, you are transporting crude oil, you know that there's a requirement for you to have the tanks inerted. Whereas if you look at the number of explosions we have been having after the ISM codes, that is the post-ISM code compared to pre-ISM code, has drastically reduced. This has to do with a lot of compliance. Okay, so is there any question regarding the benefit of ISM codes? Okay, so we'll move to the next one, which is ISM certification, right? So we have different certifications for ISM code. So we have what we call the two main certification, the document of compliance, which is DOC, and then the safety management certificate. This is a common question that examiner always asks, So you have to look at the DOC. DOC is a document of compliance. What is DOC? It's a document of compliance. Document of compliance is a certificate that is issued to the company. You have to know the difference. DOC is issued only to a company, which complies with the requirement of ISM code, and in DOC, you find out that it has the name of the ship, name of the company, and the ship, the type of ship the company operates. So it's issued to the company to ensure they comply. So before you actually run a ship management company or a ship mining company, you must have a document of compliance to show that your company is in compliance with the requirement of ISM code. What are the requirements? Those are the functional requirements that we describe, and the functional requirement applied to onboard the ship and ashore. Okay. So DOC is issued under the authority of flag state. And before the flag state issue the DOC, they must ensure that they successfully conduct an audit, which is requirement of ISM Code, and also review the SMS. That reminds me, there's a question: how often do you review SMS? So the ISM Code requires the master to review the ISMS on a monthly basis. You have to. That's one of the duties of master: ensure compliance with ISMS code. So you have to continue reviewing the SMS. Okay, so during the audit, they have to review the SMS. Ensure that you are in compliance. So once everything is issued, once the flag state surveyor or the government surveyor that is appointed, maybe the class on behalf of the government has reviewed that everything is okay, then DOC is issued after 3 months of implementation. That's for a new company, only after 3 months of implementation. And then they don't issue a DOC when you don't have a ship. At least you must have 1 ship in operation before the DOC is being issued. And the DOC is valid for a period of 5 years, subject to annual audit. So every year they conduct audit. So you have an initial audit, which before it is issued, then annual audit every year, and you have a renewal audit after a period of 5 years. So when there's a major non-conformity is found during the audit, so the DOC might be withdrawn. So you have to note that if you have any major non-conformity, the DOC might be withdrawn. So it's very, very important for you to know that, very, very important. So there are also different types of DOCs that are issued. This one I discussed is a full DOC. So you also have what we call the interim DOC. So interim DOC is issued to a newly established company, or when a company adds a new fleet. Assuming you have 10 ships and you add the 11 ship, it's not going to be on the existing DOC. So they have to issue you what they call an interim DOC. And before that, the company have to request for implementation of ISM Code, and then they have to review it again. And the interim DOC is valid only for a period of 12 months. That is the validity of the interim DOC. It's valid for a period of 12 months, whereby the full audit will take place. So when you have a new ship that is being added, you have to be issued with interim DOC. So there's also what you call the short-term DOC. Assuming today the auditor conducts an audit, and before he leaves, what he do, when you find out that everything is good, he gives you a short-term DOC that is valid for a period of 5 months. So you should be able to know that these are all requirements of ISM Code. So the next slide has to do with the safety management certificate. So like I said, there are 2 certifications: the document of compliance, which is DOC, and the safety management certificate. So the safety management certificate is a certificate that is issued to the ship, and the company that's holding the DOC. The safety management certificate is issued to a vessel to confirm that the company that is being issued a DOC and its shipboard personnel operate in accordance to the approved ship safety management system. What is the approved safety management system? The functional requirement that they comply with the requirement of ISM Code and everything. So it's very, very important for you to know that. And the validity for the SMS is for 5 years, and then it's subjected to intermediate audits. So intermediate audit is carried out between every 2.5 years. So you can see the document of compliance is subjected to annual audit, while the safety management certificate is intermediate audit. That's the difference between them. Also, under the safety management certificate, you can also be issued with an interim safety management certificate. When a new build ship is being added, you have been issued with interim DOC, and then they have to change also to the interim safety management certificate. Or when the flag of the ship change, you you have to be issued with an interim safety management certificate. And this certificate is valid for a period of 6 months. After the ship undergoes a full audit to be issued with a certificate. There's also the short-time safety management certificate that will be issued by the auditor, upon completion of the audit, and is valid for only 5 months. So another very important point you need to know that if there is a major non-conformity during the audit, the safety management certificate and the document of compliance can be withdrawn. So very important for you to know that the original safety management certificate is kept in the ship and only the photocopy is kept with the company. So it's very important for you to know that. So with that, we have come to the end of our lecture on safety management certificate. Very, very important. So do you have any question about SMS?
Yes, sir. What about internal audit? Internal audits
Yes.
and external audits.
Okay, the external audits. These are audit requirements. So internal audit, you carry out what we call annual audits. There's an annual audit that is being carried out. But the external audit is when the surveyor comes and is being carried out every 2.5 years. It's normally done by a surveyor on behalf of the flag state, a class surveyor, an approved class surveyor. While internal audit is being carried out every year, you can appoint an independent surveyor to come and carry out the audit, or the DPA who holds, an ISM audit certification. Because when I was working, when I was still in the office as speaking, I had an ISM audit certification, and I do ISM internal audits. So you can be able to do internal audits. So I hope that clarifies.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It clarifies.
Okay. So is there any other question?
Then again, I have another question, sir. What is the difference between an audit and a survey?
Okay, an audit and a survey. Thank you very much for asking this question.
Thank
you. A survey is an audit. Maybe you have to audit procedures. You have to audit checklists, check whatever is. When you are carrying out a survey, for instance, now you have what we call the blue line survey. You actually go physically, you go and do inspection, you go and measure, you go and you are surveying the entire equipment. For instance, now you have what we call annual survey. You need to survey all the light LSA, FFA equipment. You have to bring somebody, you have to test. When you're in process of survey, you do test of equipment. You test, you recharge. Things that are to be recharged annually, you recharge. When you are surveying life-saving appliances like the live raft, you take it ashore for surveying. They change the food, they change the water, they do. So those are the different. But during audit, you don't do those. During audit, you ensure compliance. Audit ensure that you are complying. Part of the requirement of audit, you say, okay, have live boat annual survey been conducted? Yes, when? But you don't go ahead to check were you there when they change it. But there is a particular survey that audit that they observe. For instance, now, if you are trying to let's say it's test live boat, so there must be a surveyor that is there to check. Those are surveying. They are different from audits. So it's very, very important for you to know the two differences. When you are carrying out audit, you are carrying out to ensure compliance. Compliance with regulation, compliance with requirement. But when you are carrying out a survey, is a process that must be done to ensure that compliance. For instance, now is you need to test foam monitors to ensure that they are working. You need to recharge foam monitors every year. You need to recharge extinguisher. You need to change the cartridges. So those are surveyed. I hope that answers your question. And Captain Afolabi is good in that. If you can chip in the more, that will be fine.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, thanks. You've touched everything, so it's just also the audit is more of sampling of paperwork. So like for instance, we are coming to carry out an internal or an external audit. You will see the surveyor is going to ask you, okay, can you give me the last 10 risk assessment, or he just goes and samples some risk assessment or some other things like that. But survey now goes to in-depth and they try and check as much as they can check fully too. Like Captain Caleb has said, the audit is just to see that, okay, from random random documentation and random records, and of course, random samplings, we are able to provide standard to show that we are adhering to the regulations, adhering to the ISM regulations too. So we have the audits is more of like sampling of your evidence, sampling of your records, and we have the survey, which is more of in-depth, like we can say it is an inspection, if that makes sense.
Yes, sir. So survey, inspection and survey, they are like the same, correct?
Yeah, inspection and survey, they are like the same. But I would say the survey goes in depth, and no, inspection and survey, yeah, sorry, they are the same. Whereas the auditing is what we just talked about.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
You're welcome. So any other question? Is there any question? Okay, I don't think we have much time to do the other one, the work hours, but I'll just give you an overview of work hours. So hours of work and rest, is a requirement. And when you look at also the MLC requires also that each member state, let's say the flag states, to fix the minimum working of hours of work, for their personnel. But what are the minimum hours of work if they ask you in an examination? So the minimum hours of work is 10 hours in every 24 hours, which may also be split into not more than 2 periods. And one of each shall be at least 6 hours in length and not more than 4 hours different between them. And then you must be able to have minimum of 77 hours for a period of 7 days. So I think for the hours of rest, I don't know, Captain Afolabi, can we be able to have another proper section tomorrow, since we are approaching 9 o'clock now, so that I can discuss in detail hours of work? Is that okay?
Oh yes, sir. We cannot be part 2. We cannot be part 2 of this lecture next week, sir. It will be
Okay.
nice. So we just break it.
Yeah, so that I can have a detail on hours of work.
Yes, sir.
And also requirement for drills.
That's
and
good.
Also there's a bit of conflicting issue regarding drills periods on hours of work and rest, which we will discuss that in details. We'll also discuss about table of working hours, recording of working hours, which I have all of them. Nowadays, we have to look at, there are a lot of arguments that have been made if you are following MLC, whether you need to record this. Some people go with their facial recognition for hours of work. So we'll discuss that in detail, which we call it electronic recording and storage. We have to also look at exceptions to minimum hours of rest, because there are also exceptions. Next, we will also look at that, and then we look at the drills, the requirement for drills, because these are the key, for oral questions. So is there any other question on what we have covered?
Thank you. I think when we share the slide to the class, then I'll be popping in some questions for them too.
Okay, I'll try and send it by tomorrow if I come back here, because I'm still on pilotage. So
no problem.
I'll try, because the network on my computer is, I don't know what's happening. Stripping is not connecting. My sincere apology for for that. I sincerely apologize. You
No,
know,
it's fine.
yeah,
Thanks
I'm
so much.
offshore.
I
That's
mean,
why.
even in the even in your busy schedule offshore, you took out time for us. I think we can next week might be another time. We'll just have the continuation. So maybe in your slide you can just crop out just the one you discussed today and you share so that people can deal with that. Then next week we can continue with the next slide. But thank you very,
Okay.
very much, Captain.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining. And if anybody have any question, please feel free to drop it in the chat box. The video also will be uploaded on YouTube for follow-up as well. Thank you. And thanks everyone. Thanks, Captain Josh and Captain Caleb. Thank you very, very much again. All right. I'll see you next week then.
Thank you very much. I'll
Thank
see you
you.
next week.
See you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.